All right, so get this. Ever wish you could read an AI's mind? And, like, I don't mean in a sci-fi kind of way. I mean actually seeing how it connects the dots, how it makes decisions. Well, that's what we're diving into today.
We're talking about taking the mystery out of artificial intelligence. It's like going from a black box to something you can actually see into.
Okay, I am 100% here for this. So we dug into this project. It's called Scratchpad, and it was created by a developer named Para-Droid-AI. They're doing some really interesting stuff over on GitHub. GitHub, it's like the place for coders to collaborate.
Yeah, for sure. GitHub's huge. And basically what this Scratchpad aims to do is make the AI's thinking process visible. So instead of just getting an answer, you'd see each step, every single piece of data it considered, like a roadmap of its logic.
Okay, so no more AI magic tricks we get to see behind the curtain.
I mean, what's the big deal with transparency when it comes to AI? That's the really fascinating part. Just think about it. For AI to really solve those complex problems, things like medical breakthroughs or tackling climate change, we need to be able to trust its reasoning. Transparency is the key to building that trust.
It's like trusting a doctor's diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
You would just accept a treatment plan without understanding the how and why behind it.
Exactly. Transparency equals trust. And it also allows for collaboration. Imagine scientists working alongside AI, understanding its insights and building upon them in ways we can't even fathom right now.
Okay, so let's get specific here. We found this example in the research. Say you ask this AI, powered by Scratchpad, to review Para-Droid-AI's framework.
Right.
And then write an article about it. What happens in its brain, so to speak?
First things first, the AI would use Scratchpad to break down that request. It would figure out the core instructions, which are you're asking for a review and an article based on that review.
Okay, so far so good. It's like it's understanding the assignment, but then what? How does it go from understanding to actually creating?
That's where things get really, really interesting. The AI would start outlining the article, creating sections like overview, key features, and even subtopics. Imagine seeing, deep learning techniques or potential applications all just popping up. It's all part of its thought process.
Wow. It's like watching the AI build an article skeleton right in front of you.
Yeah.
But is this just a cool party trick? I mean, what's the real impact of seeing an AI think this way?
It's definitely not just a party trick. This isn't just about making AI less mysterious. It's about fundamentally changing how we interact with it. Transparency allows us to understand its strengths, identify potential biases, and ultimately leverage its power more effectively. Like, imagine you're a doctor, right? And you're using AI to diagnose a really complex illness.
Yeah, those are some pretty high stakes. You definitely want to be sure it's not just like throwing out a random guess.
Exactly. But with that Scratchpad-like transparency, you could see the AI's entire reasoning process, the medical literature it looked at, maybe even the statistical probabilities it considered.
Whoa, it's like having the AI give you a superpowered second opinion, one with access to like every medical journal ever published.
And you wouldn't just be blindly trusting it, right? You'd be able to understand the logic, maybe even spot potential flaws, and ultimately make a much more informed decision, with the patient, of course.
Okay, so it's more like a collaboration than just blindly trusting the AI. I like that.
And that kind of collaboration, that could lead to some crazy breakthroughs, things we can only dream of right now. New treatments, personalized medicine, maybe even preventive measures based on really, really early detection.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. But let's shift gears just a little bit here. We've been talking about AI showing its work, but in our research, we also found some stuff about other tools that developers use. Things with names like LinkUPad and IntelliJ IDEA Scratch files.
Oh yeah, those definitely came up. It's like this whole other world of tools, all designed for transparency, but more on the coding side of things, if that makes sense.
Okay, so these aren't specifically AI tools, but they still play into this whole idea of making the invisible visible, right?
100%. Think of them like different lenses for looking at complex systems. Like, take IntelliJ IDEA Scratch files, for example. Basically, they let developers test out little bits of code without messing up their main project.
Oh, so it's like a coding sandbox, a safe space to experiment and see what works without breaking everything.
Exactly. And that kind of experimentation, when it's fueled by transparency, that's what drives innovation. It's how we go from clunky first drafts to really elegant solutions.
So it all comes back to transparency, huh? Whether it's AI showing its thought process or developers having the tools to test and tinker openly.
It's all connected. And ultimately, that clarity, That's what empowers us. It lets us understand, utilize, and even shape the technologies that are, kind of reshaping our world.
Okay, yeah, I'm definitely picking up what you're putting down. But before we get too caught up in all the excitement, what about the downsides? Is there a risk to making AI so transparent?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? Any powerful tool can be misused. I mean, AI is no exception.
It's like giving everyone the blueprints to a really complex machine. What if those blueprints fall into the wrong hands?
Exactly. And that's why, alongside developing all these awesome tools for transparency, we also need to create some really strong ethical frameworks and safeguards.
So it's not just about opening up the black box, huh? It's about making sure we're prepared for what we find inside.
And that we're wise enough to use that knowledge responsibly.
You know, this whole conversation is making me think of that saying, with great power comes great responsibility.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
We're talking about AI that could potentially solve some of humanity's biggest challenges. But we need to be smart about the risks, too.
We need that mindfulness, that awareness of both the potential and the pitfalls. That's crucial, especially as we keep moving further into this whole age of AI.
It's like we're standing at the edge of something incredible. There's something truly extraordinary. But we need to be cautious with every step we take, but also, maintain that sense of wonder.
Well said. We can't let fear stop us from exploring, but we can't afford to be naive about what could happen either.
So yeah, as much as I love this whole idea of AI explaining its every move,
Mm.
it sounds like there's a lot more to it than just making the code transparent.
Oh, absolutely. Transparency is a huge step, but it's just one piece of a much larger puzzle.
We need to be thinking about ethics, about safety, making sure AI is developed in a way that benefits everyone.
And those conversations, those need to be happening now, not later, not after something goes wrong. Now.
Because once that box is open, there's no closing it again.
That's right. It's a pivotal moment, and the choices we make today, they'll shape the future of AI and, in a lot of ways, our own future too.
So where do we even go from here? It feels like we're at this crossroads, like super excited about what AI could do, but also kind of where the responsibility that comes with it.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. It's all about finding that balance. We got to push the boundaries of what's possible, but also, make sure those guardrails are really strong?
It's like walking a tightrope. You want to get to the other side,
Yeah.
but you also got to be really careful with every single step.
100%. And the cool thing is, we get to decide what that careful, responsible development looks like. And it's not just up to the coders. It's a conversation for everyone.
All right, like as much as I love geeking out about the tech stuff, it sounds like the real challenge, the really interesting part, is figuring out how this all fits into the world. How do we make sure it benefits everybody?
You got it. That's what makes this whole thing so fascinating, Ryan. It's not just ones and zeros. It's about us. It's about understanding ourselves and what we care about and what kind of future we want to build.
This has been, wow. This whole deep dive has been incredible. We went from the nitty-gritty details of making AI's thinking transparent to the big philosophical questions.
It's been quite the journey.
Para-Droid-AI's Scratchpad framework, it really makes you think. Whether it's the ultimate solution or just the first step, it really gets you thinking about the future of AI.
It really begs the question, and I hope our listeners keep thinking about this. What changes when we can see inside the mind of an AI?
Right. What happens when the black box
Mm-hmm.
becomes a clear box? That's something worth thinking about. And if anyone out there is as into this as we are, definitely go check out Para-Droid-AI's work over on GitHub. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Until next time, stay curious.
And remember, sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from understanding the questions, just as much as finding the answers.